of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next order of business would be the approval of the minutes of our last meeting on June 15th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
I was absent, so I can't.
Abstain. Second vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Public comment period. We're gonna start out with our counsel at Bricker, who's gonna give us an update. Is that
How
right?
we doing, Andrew?
Hey y'all, how's it going? All right, yeah, so update is everything's moving forward as planned. I know the trustees have on the agenda tonight 2 resolutions for your consideration. That both of those resolutions effectively do the same thing. They essentially authorize the township to 1, have a public hearing, 2, you can issue notices, 3, it approves the overlay in which the TIF district will be included in, and then you are also approving an economic development plan. That economic development plan is a key gating item for the final TIF approval resolution that'll come later this year. That gets sent to the Franklin County engineer for approval. That essentially is noting that the infrastructure that is currently serving the developments is inadequate, which is a requirement under the statute. So that's where we're at. I'm happy to dig in as much or as little as you guys would like. Just let me know.
These are the 2. Yeah, okay. So real quick, Andrew, do we have to decide on the 1075?
Not tonight. Not tonight.
Okay.
Nope. This is just to kick off this entire process. You may change on the 1075 versus 3100 non-school after this meeting. If you do land on that for the Brookside TIF, just let me know and I'll adjust the calendars and timeline that I sent over earlier today accordingly so that we make sure we hit all of the additional gating items, namely the school district approvals required under that, as well as notices required to go to the county commissioners.
And when do I have to run over and let the superintendent and treasurer know?
Well, if you want to, and when you say that, are you referring to it being at 3100?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would want to do that sooner than later, just because the process will take a little bit longer on that because of the school district approval. So we'll want to make sure that they shouldn't have an issue approving it, but we'll just want to make sure we're aligned with their board meetings to make sure we get a resolution in a timely manner because everything needs to be approved before the end of the year.
Okay. I'll talk to you more about that later.
Sounds good.
Map that out. Yes, sir. Yeah. Haven and the cottages.
Yep.
Oh, you.
You want me to make a resolution?
Yeah.
Make a motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve a resolution delineating its overlay in relation to the proposed Haven incentive district within the unincorporated area of Perry Township, Franklin County, Ohio, and adopting a written economic development plan as to the same, setting the time and place of a public hearing, authorizing the giving of notice to the Upper Arlington School District, the Dublin City School District, and the Tools Career Center and Technical Center, all pursuant to section 5709.73C of the Ohio Revised Code and applicable law and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Vote?
Yes.
Yes. I also make a motion that we adopt a resolution delineating an overlay in relation to the proposed Brookside Incentive District within the unincorporated area of Perry Township, Franklin County, Ohio, and adopting a written economic development plan as to the same, setting the time and place of a public hearing, authorizing the giving of notice to the Worthington City School District and the Board of County Commissioners of Franklin County, Ohio, all pursuant to section 5709.73C of the Ohio Revised Code and applicable law and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Vote,
Yes.
yes.
What else, Andrew?
That's all I got for now. I appreciate it. As more questions arise, let me know and chat. You and I can, we'll chat later this week.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Andrew.
Take care.
Continuing on the public comment period. Next is going to be Nora with Compass.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. I think what we're here to kind of review today is that, well, the McVeigh traffic calming, but mostly the approach we want to take for the neighborhood focus group meeting that is scheduled for July 21st. I guess just to take a step back and introduce myself to you all, Nora Anderson with Compass Infrastructure Group. As you may know from John, I joined Compass at the beginning of the year. So I have been involved in this project since then, and have been helping kind of on behind the scenes, pulling together the report and the presentations that you've already seen in previous meetings. Prior to joining Compass, I spent 12 years at another engineering consulting firm, and I have worked with communities all around Central Ohio on very similar projects, including Columbus, Dublin, and the Franklin County engineer. So very familiar with the different traffic calming elements that we're discussing here, and have been a part of similar neighborhood meetings discussing, over the overview and the benefits and of each of the potential traffic calming elements that we're proposing. So I guess I will pause there and let you guys ask any questions of me that you may have before we dive into how we want to approach the neighborhood meeting on the 21st.
Start there.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and Nora, thank you for coming tonight, and thank you also for your time last week
Of
for my
course.
phone call. I appreciate it. Certainly, I'm sure you can appreciate that we've kind of moved through this long process with John. So we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need in order for this to be a successful and productive meeting with our residents. And we answer any questions you might have, and also ensure that you do have access to everything that did transpire, to make sure that you're aware of, for example, the feedback that we received from fire, EMS, and the other stakeholders in that process. So were you able to review that information? I think those were in recorded meetings, or are there questions we can answer for you about that?
Yes, I was not able to watch the recordings. For some reason, at least the June 15 meeting, the link to the recording wasn't working. So I have not.
Jump in right there. Actually, that was brought to my attention today by a resident, and
Perfect.
fixed the link today.
Amazing.
So it got posted, so that will be there for you.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Glad I wasn't the only one who wasn't able to access that link. Yeah, so I have that on my list to review that. I think the one thing, and I of course have all of John's notes that he had from previous meetings, and the approach that him and I had discussed on taking for the neighborhood meeting. But I think the thing where I would love to hear from all of you on is the feedback that we've previously received from the stakeholders, fire, EMS, the county. Maybe just a quick summary of that, I think, would be really helpful to make sure that going into the meeting on the 21st, we're not including any recommendations that were kind of previously discussed that have been eliminated based on that feedback. So I guess an overview from you all would be really helpful there.
Nora, I think believe in that meeting with fire, police, road, school district. Although the school district was represented, the transportation director was not available. I think he or she was on vacation. And then the county engineer, Mike Andreyko, who we talked about, was there too. I'm not sure that there were any really huge objections to the strategies that were brought up, but there was some questions about, the speed of vehicles that would have to go on a run for an emergency and things such as that. But my suggestion is to kind of hear it directly from them. You guys are meeting with the residents when?
The 21st.
21st. So we would hope that you would take the time to reach out, and we can get names and contact information for you, to actually reach out to our police chief, in the fire department, in the road department, and school district. And just have a quick 15-minute conversation with each of them and kind of talk them through again, those strategies, just to make sure that you're hearing directly from them instead of us. I think it would behoove you to have that background. And then you can, as you're having conversations, you, Andy, and Michelle are having conversations with the targeted group, you can verify, yes, I've had these conversations, we've talked about this. Gives you some credibility as you're going into that meeting with the residents, that you kind of checked a lot of boxes in preparation for it. So that would be my suggestion. And we can get that information to you so that you can have some time to reach out to those individuals that your schedule allows for to do that. And that way you're pretty much caught up, I think, with where we are, since you had the opportunity to really work with John very closely on this. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would be more than happy to do that. Always appreciate firsthand feedback.
I want to ask our administrator, Chief Petrosi, to send that to you, or have Amanda send it to you, or Michelle.
So I'll get it to you in the morning, first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you. I will reach out to those folks ahead of the 21st to just kind of circle back with them and get their feedback. You never know what additions they might have, since I know it's been a hot minute since that meeting occurred. And things always pop up after the fact. So, but yeah, more than happy to do that. And then my thoughts for the approach of the meeting on the 21st that I would like to run through with you all is very similar to the presentation that John gave on the 15th, but reordered a little bit to kind of just, one, provide the overview. This is the corridor. This is what's already out there. Then go through the speed and stop sign compliance behavior data that we have, just presenting the facts, and, putting those out there for the residents. And then talking through with them all the alternatives that we looked at and getting their feedback on each of those, talking through, the pros and cons of each, the engineering guidance recommendations of how and where those should be installed, to get their feedback on that. And then, as part of the conversation, feeding in the feedback that we have from fire, EMS, the county, the schools, to just kind of help put it into perspective of the maintenance of each of those and the considerations for emergency services that come with a lot of these, and getting the bulk of the conversation focused on that and getting their feedback on what they like, and then bringing up the map and talking about where each of those recommendations are best suited, what the frequency of those should be throughout the corridor, and getting their feedback on that, that balance of introducing traffic calming elements to help slow traffic, but then obviously not create a larger problem with you all getting complaints about how there are too many speed tables and speed humps now. So I know that's always a delicate balance. So kind of talking through that with them, bringing local examples from other communities in Central Ohio that we can point to and talk, that they may be familiar with in their daily travels, to help put things into perspective.
Nora, I'm not sure, I may have shared this with you already, so apologies if this is duplicative. The folks that will be here, we selected because they live at all of the different kind of points on that road. I'm sure with your familiarity of that, you understand that we have different challenges and different options available. Absolutely. In those different areas. I do want to make sure that when we're having these conversations with folks that we are drilling down where needed to make sure that we understand what part that they are referring to. Because
Mhm.
again, it's a pretty different experience, if you will, as you navigate the road, since it's fairly long. Around the school, the school area,
Mhm.
Andy shared a suggestion about, and I can't think of the name of that
It's the one that,
solution.
Nora, it's the solution where it kind of jogs, you know, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like where you kind of do a bump out and a person has to wait to clear before they enter in. And it was one of John's, it was one of the, one of
Yes.
the.
I
So,
can't think of what it's called, but it came up after, I thought it came up after we had already had the conversation with the stakeholders like EMS or fire
yeah,
and safety.
Something there was something,
And so,
They're often referred to, at least in our notes, you may have referred to it as a yield street, or chicanes is also a common term for those.
thank you. So they are not, I don't believe that they have had the visibility to that particular potential solution. Because that was after the meeting with them, right? That we talked about that.
yeah, I mean, it was kind of,
Yes.
it was kind of a side conversation that we had when John was here. And I mean, personally, I think it's got some legs from my perspective, but, again, it'll be, you know, just talking to the residents about it and walking through to kind of get their feedback on that.
But that may, because we talked
Is there no
about it
pushback
at this
on that?
last meeting, but you weren't here. And I know we kind of had some conversation around how would that work, like if we have buses
right,
lined up that are blocking the road because during drop off and pickup. Or if an emergency vehicle needed to get through and we had
Yeah,
that kind of scenario. And I raise it because I don't, if we walk through that with those stakeholders now, before the focus group, they will
Mhm.
not have seen, I don't think, that particular proposal. So we might
with the
want to get their
presentation.
feedback, right,
yeah,
before the focus group meeting, if we're going to potentially propose that one.
and Nora, that's something that I think you may want to put an asterisk next to the transportation director for the school district, because I think that's where the pushback was. It was in the school area
Right,
with the buses and everything.
right.
And to get their understanding of what that could look like or may not look like based upon what their comments are, but I think that's where the pushback was, had to do with buses
I
and
think so.
traffic.
Well, I mean, and I think that was kind of our conversation where I truthfully, I don't believe that that one has been communicated.
Yes,
To-
no. And that was our conversation, buses coming in and the backup that those buses.
Occur, or even parents dropping off and all of
Right.
those things, that backup
I mean,
and ability for emergency vehicles to get through.
could those be appropriate in other areas?
We didn't talk about that.
See, that,
Right,
my
Could
thought,
that be another area?
after, when I walked out here, I'm thinking that just would be with buses and drop off, that might not be the best option,
But it could be in another
but
area.
it could be in another area. And, that was my only quick thought. Now, are we gonna talk at all with this group on the 21st? On ideas that we've sort of like rejected or just focus on the ones that we think are a possibility after talking with the stakeholders.
good question.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know in John's initial proposal or the deck, there were some options that
Yeah.
were deemed not viable.
I think it's a good idea to talk about that, because I think it shows a lot of due diligence on everybody's part.
And we looked through all of the,
And I think maybe that would be a good thing for you sort of, in order to take the lead on, that this isn't something we're just like, well, okay, here's just some ideas. I mean, this
Throw 'em out
was, there was a lot of thought put into this and a lot of options and, and some just don't work, some may work, but there's some downside. And I think the more transparent you are on that, it shows that you're trying to come up with
Yeah.
the best possible solution.
So maybe like a quicker abbreviated review of the
Yeah.
ones that don't work and
and
then,
why.
and why, and,
Yeah.
then focus on the ones that do, or
Yeah,
potentially do.
Yeah,
And Nora, when we get to the open house, that's when we're kind of fine tuning our strategy. This is what we're focusing on. So it's a little bit different. It's a different story.
Right.
It's so for this purpose, I agree with the board. Let's get it all out there on the table. Some good, some bad. The bad is because of X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah.
And get their feedback, because these are the things that they're
Yeah.
gonna be obviously looking at and dealing with every time they,
And sharing with their neighbors,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
that's the key part.
mhm. So, and Nora, I mean, we can have a prep meeting if that's helpful. Andy,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
prior, if you wanna walk through with the stuff or after.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful to make sure that I'm planning to present the information in the way that you guys want it to present it. Happy to run through, obviously, the ideas that were dismissed due to X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. I do have a follow-up question about the Yield Street or the chicanes. When I am reaching out to the stakeholders, do you want me to bring up that option to get their feedback specifically on that before we present it to the group, since it wasn't part of that initial conversation?
yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea.
yeah. I think we're really just to hear what the transportation director would have to say.
Yeah,
But to Mr. Roper's point, it could be another area that you could utilize that, so. You guys are gonna have it here, right?
Well, do you remember that sidebar conversation that we had? Remember we had that, the Frank County, the guy from Frank County was like, yeah,
Yeah,
that could be an option.
he was not at all opposed to that.
No,
no, I'm thinking more, Chief Zambito and Chief and the,
yeah,
and the schools.
Yeah,
Mr. Gehring,
Thank you.
well,
I'm still, my brain is still fried from the parade on Saturday.
and he's not the transportation. director.
No, but
That's
he
the-
was here, yeah.
he's the building superintendent.
Yeah.
He was on vacation, so
Yes.
he
Yeah.
came and provided that information after the meeting back to her.
But he wanted to refer to her.
We wanted to defer to her.
Yeah, that's her.
That's her
Her
bailiwick.
bailiwick. So.
Yeah.
And Nora, would you mind throwing me an email with a few times that work for you for a, just a prep meeting, and Andy, I'll get with you on,
I can absolutely do that.
thank you.
Anything else?
I don't believe so. I think that approach makes sense. And Michelle, I'll send you those times so that we can get kind of a, I guess, presentation finalization meeting on the schedule ahead of the 21st. And then, yeah, once I have the contact information tomorrow for those stakeholders, I will circle back with them and just talk through, see if they've had any other thoughts about the options that were previously presented to them, and then bring up the Yield Street as well, so that we have that information ahead of the 21st. And I'll keep you guys updated on how those conversations are going, if I'm having trouble reaching out to anybody, to make sure that we get their input before we meet with the neighborhood group.
Chief
Perfect.
or Chief Petrosi will make sure that they reach out to you.
He'll
You
be
know,
the
you know the
enforcer.
guy or two.
Uh-huh.
So.
Well, I appreciate you joining.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess any other questions for me at this time?
I don't think so.
I think we're good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for your time. I'm really looking forward to continuing this work with you.
Thank you, Nora. Appreciate it. Have a good
Have a
evening.
great night.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, staying within the public comment period, Brookside.
Nothing other than thank you to the police department and, for their support with the bike parade.
She said it was very successful.
Mhm.
Big turnout.
Yeah.
I think she said like 130 bikers.
Lots of little kids,
Yeah,
I tell
pretty
you,
cool.
how about making you feel old. See all those tiny people.
That's old lady.
I know.
Worthington Hills.
Let's see, there's no meeting, everybody's just wrapping up the fourth.
Epcot Ravello.
We have an issue with AT&T down at Epcon. There's a hole in the ground, for lack of better words, I'm sure, is connection with AT&T lines that we gotta somehow get resolved, but I gotta find the right person at AT&T to go down and fix that. So maybe we could, I'll talk to Ian about putting something around.
I thought I had about bringing a truckload of dirt down there and filling it in.
Filling up, okay. Do that too.
If they need it opened back up, they'll come and dig it and tell us why it's there.
Other than that.
I assume they're running fiber there as well.
Huh?
I assume they're running fiber there as well.
I think it's an old service pit. An old service pit, it looks like. I don't know.
I haven't seen it, and I
I mean, we'll fix it. It's not that big a deal. It is somewhat covered. So it's not like it's open.
we'll put up some barricades around it, some cones.
Okay. It'll be fine.
All right, nobody's here from the sheriff's office, so, nothing under zoning, it looks like, nothing under road department, is that correct?
That is correct.
Nothing under fire and EMS and nothing under police, is that correct?
That is correct.
Quick question.
Quick question,
Two quick questions.
2 quick questions.
No. Just one.
Are we doing
Who
something?
closed the roads?
Body camera footage fee I had on the list.
Footage fee?
Camera footage fee.
Yeah. Are we changing the fee?
Oh.
Or is there?
That's gonna be on, no, you're talking about public record request. That is being worked on and that'll be on an agenda item for the next meeting probably.
And the e-bikes,
It's popular.
are we working on something?
We are working to put together some language similar, very similar to Upper Arlington's language. It's a huge problem. It's just a matter of time before we have a fatality because of one of these e-bikes. So we're gonna have some kind of legislation to manage that. Upper Arlington has done a lot of work. They really put together a good program. I will get a copy of that and forward it to all of you so you can look at it, but I don't know that we need to reinvent that wheel since they've done all this work and they've gladly offered to share it with us.
Are we allowed to supersede sort of like state law that basically says these are legal? Can we?
Yeah, you can create your own restrictions and requirements such as a registration, helmets, even though they're not necessarily all motorcycles, you can mandate that kids have to wear helmets, everybody has to wear helmets on them. Those kinds
I
of,
think it's two things.
We can't outlaw that.
No. But we can do something such as registration. I like it to say, listen, we need to know who you are, just like anything else, so we can better communicate with you about safety things and training and all that. It shouldn't be a charge. And there should be some kind of safety training component to it.
Jim, here's part of the problem. The other day, Bob Forsythe was running radar on Brookside. Had a kid come down there on an e-bike, passed 2 cars on a double yellow line. And Bob was sitting right there, pulled right out behind him, lit him up. The kid took off. They were going 50 miles an hour. They came down the dip, up the hill, like the siren on, and the kid's like, hold on, give me a place. And he shot through the field at the top of the hill and cut through the back. And by the time Bob got to where he needed to be, he lost him. 14 years old, 15. I mean, but Bob said he has this big red hair. And what we're gonna do is, we got cruiser video, we're gonna try and get a good still of him with his bike and his hair and put it on Facebook and our webpage and see if anybody can identify him. I mean, the fact that he's speeding is one thing, the fact that he's fleeing and eluding.
But that's not like a true e-bike that has those 3 classes that are
Right.
capped out at like 28 miles.
But you know what, I gotta tell you, I got kids right now coming down my street
Going faster than that.
on the, they look like the
Oh,
skateboard,
yeah, right.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
And
Like
it's,
those old Razor scooters.
yeah, I mean, they're going 25 miles an hour anyway.
Well, those are the ones that are, obviously there were a ton of them out. The thing that makes, my kids were the Razor scooters with your feet, obviously, you had to use them, and bikes. These things go from like 0 to 25 in about
A second.
3 or 4 seconds. You can, and that's the thing that's kind of scary. They think they can just like shoot out because they can. Whereas on a bike, it takes a while to get that, but you know, you can't go that quick.
Yeah.
And they're just taking more chances, and that's where the problem's gonna be.
Yeah.
They think they can outrun, not really outrun, but they can do something very quick. That you can't do on a normal bicycle or a normal scooter.
It's, I believe and the county just put something out about this. I got an email today about the potential dangers, and it's just a matter of time before there's gonna be a fatality with these kids.
I'm surprised there hasn't been,
Yeah,
candidly.
there was, what they had sent me today is there's a young man that was hit, and is in bad shape in a hospital because of failing to, I think the bigger piece of the registration is an education that parents and the kids all need to understand. They gotta obey all the traffic laws, you know, none of them seem to obey stop signs.
No.
Mm-mm.
No,
It's, I mean, and again, it's not trying to restrict the fun they're having, but they need to be safe.
I mean, there are kids that do wheelies on those things on the wrong, basically going this way, but doing it on the left side of the road. I mean, they basically take the entire road as their
Oh, I
play.
know.
So, and I think the biggest concern that I've heard is from parents, not their parents, but parents out there saying, I could back out of my driveway and it looks clear in a second, somebody's behind me when I'm pulling out.
yeah,
And I'm afraid of hitting somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So they're
so,
going the wrong way on the road.
Yeah.
I saw one the other day when I was coming up, circle on the green. I typically don't look right before I turn right because there shouldn't be traffic coming that way. And here comes a kid on he wasn't gonna stop. I was just like, damn, I know you're supposed to kind of look both ways before you, but when you don't expect somebody to be coming from your right hand side,
Yeah.
you expect somebody to stop at you see anybody at the stop sign.
you expect them to obey the traffic laws.
The other thing I saw a lot of too, it's probably gonna end a little bit, but God, there were so many people letting little kids drive carts this weekend. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
They always have been. You're just kidding.
Well,
You
and
know,
again, that's,
and the parents are next to them, but some of these kids are like 8 years old, it looked like, and they're driving. I'm telling you, if something, they're not gonna be able to react to any kind of a situation or
and
hit the brakes or something like
the
that.
information that the chief shares before that event is very specific in that if you're gonna drive the cart, you have to have a driver's license. And parents should be cited. Now
I don't think you should give warnings for parents letting little kids drive. I don't.
you don't do it in a car.
Right,
Why are you doing it in the golf cart?
Right,
Yeah, it's. Oh, well.
all right,
Okay. Thank you.
get off my lawn. Anything else?
Not under police, sorry.
Well, what about under township administrator? We do the 2 resolutions.
2 resolutions. The only other thing I provided you guys an update on what the cost, if you look at that back sheet, that's what the township cost for the 4th of July was. With
And
all,
on behalf of the July 4th committee, we thank you 13,682.19. So,
there you go. I just,
how did you come up with the road? How'd you come up with the road?
I am providing me the hours of the guys that work,
But how, would you attach to it? Just their,
Labor.
just their labor time.
okay,
Time and a half, straight time for when they were here.
Right.
Working, and then whenever they're on overtime.
Right.
It's done in time and a half.
They just swept the parade line, right?
The street sweeper,
Weren't they already up there? Cause I saw marks that looked like they had just swept.
I had said that there's an update that he sent me for this report that they spent $450 for street sweeping up there.
yeah, they were out this morning, cause when I was driving to work, they had already gotten through.
But it looked like it was just like at the parade route, which would be fine. Then they sweep everything in Warrenton Hills.
we spoke over.
Just personally, and seeing these, I think the civic association, we need to share this, and we need to start having a discussion about sharing, putting a little more money into. I don't understand because the civic association, when I was on it, we were paying $22,000 for fireworks. Well, they don't do fireworks anymore.
Yeah, I've always wondered where that money.
So where's that money going?
I don't think they get donated as much as they do because the fireworks are not there.
Well,
They get donations.
but I know that at
The
one
dues, the
point. they
dues
were-
used to be 25, now they're 75.
Well, yeah, I was on board that we upped them to 75, but at one point I had heard that they were looking for projects to reduce the amount that they had in the thing and
Share with Brookside.
yeah. No, I mean, look, it's a great event, it's awesome, it's everything like that, but what about the other folks in the township that don't? And you've got a bunch of other neighborhoods that are also taking part that aren't part of the civic association, so maybe it's, hey, Stone, Old Stone Crossing. Cherryfield. Hey, we need some money because I just think it needs to be a discussion, because it's starting to get a lot.
I think,
We can definitely have a conversation.
yeah, I think that this is probably something that we should sit down with somebody from their board. With probably police, fire, roads, and talk about how do we find some equity in what we do here and how we share that cost.
Yeah. How much is that? Is time and a half overtime for the.
Well, the parade, all the police costs was overtime.
And then how much, I'm sure Sharon has a cost in this thing too.
Yeah, I didn't figure Sharon, but again, I will tell you, just prep for the parade since January. Meetings that our officers have gone to, and that's only usually one.
Yeah, but I would discount those because those are usually civic
So
association.
these are specific for the parade, and we have
Really?
$2,000 tied up in those meetings.
In prep meetings?
Yes, sir.
But why do we need an officer there?
Wait a minute. What meetings are we talking about?
The ones that Sergeant Miller went to.
We didn't go to any one except the last meeting.
Sergeant Miller has been involved in a number of meetings. Again, Chad, I wasn't there. I
No,
did that for.
yeah,
the-
They were always, again, this is a while, but they were always like doubled in, like we'd always get an update from the parade. The police officer who was there at the Civic Association would hear, but if we're sending a police officer for parade meetings,
No,
no,
we only sent them to the last meeting,
right?
which was in June. Sergeant Miller wasn't in any of those meetings. Now, he was in prep meetings,
That's what I'm saying. Prep
Yeah.
meetings.
but not, well, there's a difference. Okay, I just want to be clear here.
Now, I said very clearly in the beginning, Sergeant Miller.
Yeah.
Based on the time he spent in prep meetings for the parade since January 1st, came to $2,000.
Okay, and all I'm saying is that there are parade meetings that happen once a month, starting in March. And he was only at the one in June. Now, the
Well, I don't know
meetings,
what meeting he's
now,
going
the
to.
meetings you're talking about, I'm sure, I wasn't involved in all those meetings, so I don't know that.
I'm just saying they're meetings. They're meetings that are relevant to the parade. They're not relevant to his day-to-day operations as a sergeant in the police department. They are specifically for this event for the 4th of July. And of those meetings, he had a cost of $2,000. Now, I can't explain all those, but I'm sure the chief of police can. That's his domain.
And maybe we should have that conversation before we have conversation with Civic Association.
Well, if I run a civic association, does Arlington charge for police coverage for their parade that's much bigger?
Yeah, but it's
Arlington's parade is the city's parade.
yeah, we're talking ours is a glorified neighborhood parade. City of Upper Arlington is, and the Civic Association funds, because my business partner was on the Civic Association. They fund a large portion of the parade. Out of the Civic Association.
Yeah. Again, I just think, guys, it's important that we understand how much money the township is investing in that day. Again, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying that I don't know, in the years that I've been here, I've never seen a total. And I thought it was important to put that together. We've had some discussion about what does this actually cost?
And I look at it as an investment in our community.
You and I both, we agree on that, Chet, but there are other neighborhoods who may not think that's a good investment. Just the opposite of what your
But
thought
people
is.
from other neighborhoods attend this parade. It's not just.
But that's my point is it's on the it's on the civic association to go out and solicit funds from those other to cover at least the costs that the township has been, that has no, it's almost like the road, meeting that we're gonna have is we got people from the city of Columbus sitting there banging, it's like, hey, we want road improvements for our kids. And it's like, okay, yeah, great, but what are you guys gonna put into it?
So let
Things,
me ask you this question. So if we do it for this, there are other events in the year that we support. Do we go to them and say, oh, that event, we're gonna ask you to contribute
Well,
to?
we have garage sales, we have a hog roast, we have the bike parade, we have
We don't have a
Halloween.
hog roast anymore.
We have A-rides, we got all kinds of things, we have police,
Do we ask them,
So-
should we be asking them to contribute to that?
No,
Here's the thing, I mean, I can see both sides from my perspective. Absolutely, there's a lot of folks that are not Worthington Hills residents that attend that parade. Noted. I don't think, I mean, would I be looking to go after them for $175 in stamps, envelopes and what have you? No. Is there perhaps some sort of share when a neighborhood event of anybody's reaches over X? I don't know what X is, that there should be a share. Maybe that's an approach to consider. I don't know.
It's a threshold.
A threshold, right? Because there's a big difference between having one officer,
Yeah.
somewhere versus,
That's the difference. I have a bike race, I got two officers, or a bike parade. I have National Night Out, I have 5 people there. Just for the parade, you got 19 police officers, you got 3 road people, all on overtime.
So is all of this cost for the 4 events or for the one
For the
event?
whole event,
For all 4?
all 4.
Okay. So.
Yeah, that's,
but
it's
it's
the
like,
week,
okay,
it's the
so.
week up. is
So
what
we
you're
just,
saying,
we
kind of.
just identified 2 expense, all right, so an officer going to multiple parade things, we need 1. Like, tell us what you're doing, I mean, we've been doing this for
Yeah.
years.
Here, the truth of the matter is, we don't need a policeman to go to any event meetings because they have done this for so long. They know exactly what nothing changes.
Right, well, my point, okay,
Right.
so there's $2,000, then the street sweeping 450, that's a civic association, throw out candy, everything like that.
Pay the forfeit.
They should be covering the costs of street, the street sweeping. Is there other costs? Yeah, they'll get, then all of a sudden, now instead of 13,000, we're down to 11, again, I'm just, look. We're representing, but there's 3 of us are from Worthington Hills, we get it, we've all been there, we've been for whatever, but it really only benefits the folks from Worthington Hills.
I completely disagree.
I don't agree with that because I see Brookside, I see people from other parts of the township in that parade.
Well, I see people from other parts of the township. I see people from outside the township. I mean,
I
obviously
agree
you've
with
got the Kilborn band, you've got the
People
sports
wanna see their kids.
presenting. I get
football
that.
teams, all these.
I don't know that, I'm not suggesting, first of all, I'm not suggesting anything other than the fact that perhaps it's a conversation to discuss how things could be done more efficiently. For example, if we need a police officer at meetings, can they define that this person only needs to attend 15 minutes of this this meeting, this time, like, as opposed to needing to be there for the whole meeting? Is there things that
They
they can
do.
do with that?
That's
Well,
what
and
I'm confused by
I'm
is that,
speaking generally, because I'm
Yeah.
not in those meetings either. If there's things that can be done to pare down the cost, at minimum, it's a great conversation to have.
I
But-
agree.
Yeah.
I would be happy to take, for instance, the $2,000 that Sergeant not to pick on Sergeant Miller because he does a great job. But to say, okay, of that $2,000, when we're talking about, and I know this, if the chief was here, he could probably explain a little bit better.
Let me.
So maybe we
let
should
me-
just
let me-
table the conversation
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
Steve can be
I mean,
here.
That'd
But
be great.
it's not just that meeting.
No.
The amount of on-duty time, whether it's a road guy or a police officer, invests in prepping for this event is pretty substantial as well.
But it's a public event, and the vast majority of people that participate in that parade are not Worthington Hills people. It's the band, it's every football team, it's the cheerleaders, it's the Worthington Fire Department, it's, you know, it's all kinds of groups. It's not just a Worthington Hills private parade.
I just,
Guys, I think it's important, based on our responsibility for the money, to just be transparent with what are we spending as a township to invest in an event that is, if you guys want to adopt this as a township event, you certainly have the power to do that. But right now, it is a civic association event. It's not a township sponsored event. And that's where I think there are neighborhoods in this community that look at that event and say, that's a lot of money, a lot of my money being spent in the neighborhood I don't live in.
who says that?
Oh, I've had people tell me that about Worthington Hills. You've never heard that from anybody else in this township, Jack? You've never heard that?
No,
Oh, I've heard it from multiple people.
I just,
I've never heard it. I talked to a lot of people in every part of the
Hey.
township.
I just think that this should be shared with the Civic Association. Because
I agree-
we've
And I agree
never,
with that.
we've never quantified this. And it's like, hey, we're investing township dollars in this thing. We're looking to reduce costs as much as we can. So let's have a shared conversation on how to be as efficient as we possibly can. I don't think I'm sitting here beating the table saying, hey, this, you know, they should pick up the entire cost of it. Cause I agree with Jim, or Chad, it's a goodwill, it's a township, it's that thing. But it's still, I mean, that's 13 grand.
And I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I think it's part of a wrap-up conversation with the Civic Association, with the July Fourth Committee. I agree with that part. What I want to be clear about before we start throwing numbers out is I want to understand the numbers. Now, I have some numbers here, but I also need some clarification about what they mean and what we're putting into these numbers.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think that's a
Isn't that a conversation?
that's an
we should
internal
have when she
conversation
should
to
be
have
here?
before we have the external.
When she was here,
These
I mean,
numbers are right, and I'm sure, yeah, the cost probably, it might,
Because we could cut the cost just by talking
it
internally.
might even be a bit higher, you know, when I see the street guys pounding the, you know, no parking things, and that takes, you know, hours to do,
Those are all factored in.
you know, all those things. You
Those
know,
are reports I got. I'm, again,
perfectly comfortable with the numbers, but I just think this is a community event that you it looks like when Columbus has the arts festival, you know, that benefits, I suppose, the people downtown. Why would somebody that lives, you know, in Stone Creek Crossing say, well, my taxes are going to pay for the, you know, for something like that?
the Arts Festival,
Yeah,
those officers are special duty. City of Columbus doesn't get red, white, and blue,
dude operate, all that kind
all
of stuff.
special duty,
Mhm.
all. special
Somebody
duty.
pays for all those officers.
The people that sponsor those parades. do.
Sponsors do. That I do.
I worked on red, white, and boom for 9 years. We spent $1 billion just on police.
I sponsored it for 4 years, so I know exactly how much money I go there.
So, I mean, that's my point, Jim. Most communities, most cities do not pick up that police tab. It's special duty for the people who are putting on that event. If it is a parade that is being sponsored by the city or by the township, then it becomes
Those are,
our
So like
responsibility.
Arlington Parade sponsored by Arlington.
But a large majority is the Civic Association.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how I can tell you based on my experience in Westerville, we paid for the police department, police coverage for the parade because it was our parade, the city's parade.
Right.
But every other event was paid for by either the, I believe it was the Lions Club who sponsored the fireworks and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it was vice versa. Maybe the city paid for the fireworks and the Lions Club or whoever paid for the police and all the road department guys, all of that stuff. You know, I mean, it was never 100% on the city, and I'm not saying this is 100% on the township, but a lot of those events are special duty for law enforcement.
I just can't, like I said, that, you know, I think of parades for the holidays, you know, Worthington always has a very nice Memorial Day parade, Upper Arlington has a big parade, I never thought that they would charge separately for those, but.
Where do you wanna go with it?
Well, guys, I just brought this put together for your knowledge, so you know what this event costs. So that we can have a discussion with the stakeholders, whether it be the civic association or.
I guess what I'm asking, what are we asking of them? I mean, we could share the information and say this is
Well,
what.
I think
At the
we
end of
need
what's
to,
our-
at the end of the day, we need to figure out how do we control these costs? Cause every year as our costs go up
Yes,
with labor, our investment in this event goes
goes
up.
up.
And so we have to somehow figure out how to contain those costs. How much of it do we want to absorb?
I think at one point, and I can't remember what year it was, but it was like set, like special duty, and this was just, you know, the officers was $6,000 or $7,000. Well, if we're at 9,000, we're $2,500 up. So all I'm saying is, I think it needs to be shared.
Okay.
It needs to be recognized. We
Okay.
need to say, hey, just like you guys are trying to cut costs, we're trying to cut costs. But we got a bigger deal because we got, you know, we have taxpayers that are footing the bill for this that aren't Worthington Hills residents. And I just think we're just trying to figure out how can we make this more efficient.
Candidly, I thought we had this conversation before about this same topic a few years ago. And had it, well, I thought the intent was to have a discussion with the civic about some sort of split. I don't know what came of that. But this feels a bit deja vu. I truly think that we shouldn't go further until we've had Chief in the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that.
Chief and I both need to be a part
Yeah,
of that
and I,
discussion.
you're right, and just to say, hey, here's what we're doing, and because truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised if that is on the low side, if there isn't other time spent by administrative kind of handling and scheduling and coordinating things.
No cost relative to Sharon, no cost relative to Worthington Fire. To, again, whether their people are on overtime or whether their people are on duty time, it is time being paid for that event.
And maybe, and perhaps this has been in the reports that you already got, but maybe by them being kind of inside it and doing the work, they have suggestions on things that could be cut or streamlined that.
How
wouldn't
many
impact the
officers do we
event.
have there that day? 19, you said?
I think that's what the
17.
17.
How many does Sharon have there?
Four.
I mean,
But it runs through Perry Town.
I understand that, but you need 19 police officers to cover that?
Sunday.
Yeah. To get all the intersections and to keep
Yeah.
traffic moving takes 19. And this, truly, this cost is cut in half. My first year here, we did this plus fireworks.
That's true.
Yeah,
So my costs were substantially, well. they're
Well,
probably
double, because they're both a 3 or 4 hour.
The hours you spent was more.
Well, yeah, and there is, once one event's done, then you're prepping, get ready for the other.
But aren't you paying like 4 hours minimum or something like that?
Not on overtime, special duty.
No, but like for these officers, how many hours are they billing for that or charging for that?
Just the hours that they're here. There's no minimum on overtime for special duty except for court.
Okay,
Court time is 3 hour show up. But if I work overtime, I work an hour, I get paid an hour. If I work 10 hours, I get paid 10 hours.
okay.
Again,
You had said that somebody asked you to give this.
yeah, we had a conversation, and Andy and I had some
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah.
And again, Chad, I don't know that we've ever taken the time to sit down and say, what does the 4th of July cost us? This township. And
Well, I
again,
think
I'm
we
not-
I
have.
feel like we have.
We have.
Or at least
We have
maybe
done.
from a police perspective.
not
I don't
be
know
here,
about
but
the
we
rest
have.
of it.
Yeah,
but I
that's
feel like
fine.
we
Yeah.
have.
It's
I
always
just
been
know that-
police, because the police has always been
It's
the
the
biggest
majority of it.
presence and whatever.
Well, I gotta be honest with you, the amount of work the road department puts in leading up to this
Agreed.
event. Is
There's a
huge.
lot of work.
They spent at least 40 hours of their work day in that prep period, well, nothing but parade stuff. A good 40 hours, 3 guys. It's just, I mean, they're always working on, I'm not all of them together, but putting up no parking
Equivalent.
signs.
Yeah.
Going, I mean, I don't know what all they do, but they're always out there getting something ready for this event. It's time consuming and there is a cost. And if you guys are good with that cost, I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. My responsibility is to provide you the information.
I think the payback we get though is constant votes in favor of our police department.
I don't disagree with that.
You gotta, there's gotta be some goodwill here.
This is, it's a fine balancing act. It's a fine balancing act, especially for next year. Only because of the election year, I think it's because we got a road levy to put on. So I'm just, I don't disagree with Andy. I think the conversation has to be had because it's a business conversation. This is where we are. If there's ways to be more efficient about doing this, cutting costs, we should talk about it. We probably should talk about it every year. This is normal course of kind of let's make sure that we.
What's our police budget? What's our police budget?
Well. But I mean,
We're
the
talking-
balance
we're talking
comes to
about
a threshold.
9,000 of that. 1/10%
But I think Chad, I get your point, and I go back to what I initially stated. I don't think it's anytime a civic association has any event, we should charge everything associated.
I don't think so.
don't think anybody's saying that at all. I think, but it makes sense that there's a threshold of some sort, because, and hypothetically, and I'm not suggesting that the civic association would do this, but hypothetically, you know what, now we need you for double this amount of time. I mean, there has to be some sort of kind of
Well, I
plan, right?
agree with that. And
You know, maximums, minimums, whatever that looks like. I don't know that I have the answer, but there's probably.
And to be
A
honest with you, and not to, again, not to pick on Sergeant Miller, because he does a bad job. I mean, he doesn't need to be at any of those parade meetings, except for the time that the police say that they put together their plan. And they want to put together that plan, then that is time that they need. I can't determine how many hours that is, because that's on them. They say that. That's not for me to say. So. And again, we can delve into that. You're giving me that look, I know, but that's not, to me, that's on them. If they want to cut hours in prepping for it, then cut hours.
And people need to cooperate with that.
I'm not uncooperative on that. I mean, Mr.
Cheney, I've seen you request people to go to meetings.
What
How many times did you ask the chief to go to, one of these meetings about the parade?
this year,
Yeah.
none,
Oh, then-
zero.
Then you and him need to have a conversation.
Can we wrap this up?
We
And
can.
just-
I've
all I'm
never
saying
asked the chief
is-
to go to any of those meetings. When?
Hey, can we?
I'll pay you $15,000.
All it's like, we know what it is. Can we, share with civic association, look for opportunities to save cost, and I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I agree. And that, guys, that was the whole point of this.
Right.
Here's what it costs. What should we be doing? I'm not saying we shouldn't pay anything. That's never been my intent. I'm simply saying, here's what it costs us. Do they know? Does the civic association know? Because I don't think they really know. I don't think nobody's ever shared with them that. And I don't think it's that they don't care. Just never bothered to tell them. But as we go every year, this cost is going to continue to escalate because you're gonna need 17 officers every year. You're going to do the same work with the same road crews guys whose wages are gonna go up every year. So that cost is gonna continue to increase.
Well, and maybe that's where then there is a discussion about here's what we are able to support.
Mhm.
And if it goes above and beyond that, then we have to look at it differently. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not.
And I'm agreeing with that. I
Yeah.
mean, if it takes 17 officers to do the parade, if that's the base, then it's 17 officers. But if it's family fun night, if we need 4 officers, to be honest with you, I'm trying to think, 1, 2, 3, 4. Chief was there, 2 people, it was probably 6. Do we need, no, 7. There were 7 officers there. Do we need all 7 there? Do we need the horses? Do we need the canine unit? Do we need, how many, do we just need 2 officers doing the kid prep?
We'll discuss this later. Cause I have my thoughts, but we probably will end up arguing, so we'll discuss it later.
I think people,
But
I think people
do we
enjoy
need to
seeing
clean the
police
parking lot?
officers.
Huh?
Do we need to clean a parking lot?
So,
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
But I never asked the chief to go to a meeting, and I better put that in writing.
Okay. I think we're good.
I have a very short agenda, if I may. Ready to move on?
I don't know, I don't feel like I'm running this meeting, to be quite honest.
You are the chairman.
Am I? Fiscal officer.
So, 2 things. One on the list is a request for approval of payroll and disbursements.
Those are 2 things, right, Craven?
Okay, then I lied. It's
I'll
3.
make that motion.
Second,
Vote,
yes,
yes.
And then I did want to share that we had 2 CDs come up for maturity from Huntington, and the rates were higher to move them to Star Ohio. So we are waiting for them to mature and transitioning those over. It's a difference of 3.9% versus 3.65%. But we're going to go ahead and move those over, and Huntington will let us know as they have new rates available. Okay.
anything else? Do a motion to adjourn,
I'll make the motion.
second? Vote,